श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्ये सर्वदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विशेषगुरोगणां निधे सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्ते नमः। वेदव्यासं स्वात्मा रूपं सत्यसन्धं परायणं शान्तं जितेन्द्रियक्रोधं सशिष्यं प्रणमाम्यहम्। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमं वन्दे परमानन्दपादम्। नारायणपरो व्यक्तदण्डमव्यक्तसम्भवं मण्डस्यान्तस्त्विमे लोकः सप्तद्वीपाचमोदिनी पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणे स्वयं व्यासेन कृतितां पुराणमुनिनां मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीमष्टादशाध्यायिनीं अम्ब त्वामनुसन्धतां भगवद्गीते भवेद्वेषिणीं श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् अवतीर्णश्च कालट्यां केदारेन्तर्हृतश्च चिदुष्पीठप्रतिष्ठाता चेताश्चङ्करो गुरुः। So we were looking at previously Krishna explaining how a yogi, karma sannyasi, who has attained or in the path of attaining this jnana, what type of yogas he engages in. So Brahmarpam Brahma, from that shloka we started looking at different type of sacrifices. Sacrifice in the sense not literally offering in the fire, but the controlling and restraints or anything that one performs in the path of this karma sannyasa, how one does. So he was explaining that, and as part of that we were looking at the next shloka, which is the 28th shloka we were looking, where Bhagavan explains that Dravya yajnas tapo yajna yoga yajnas tatha pare swadhyaya jnana yajnascha yatayah samshita vrataha. Dravya yajnas tapo yajna yoga yajnas tatha pare swadhyaya jnana yajnascha yadayah samshita vrataha. Similarly, others are performers of the sacrifices through wealth, through austerities, through yoga, and through study of and knowledge, and others are ascetics with severe vows, vratas. Dravya means offering one's own wealth as a sacrifice. Tapayajna means offering severe austerities as a sacrifice. Yoga yajna means performing the yogic practices, the Ashtanga yoga practices, and tata means thus, apare means others, swadhyaya means cultivating or cultivating through the cultivating knowledge by studying the Shāstras. Jnana-yajna means offer, those who offer cultivation of this jnana, this transcendental knowledge as a sacrifice. Cha means also, yadayah means those ascetics. Sanshita vrataha means observing strict vratas, vows. So Acharya here, again I will use Acharya's Bhashya and also use Srimad Sundar Saraswati's Vakyan on this shloka when we look at this. So Acharya says that performing this sacrifices through wealth, dravya yajna. Dravya yajnaha tirteshu dravya viniyogam yajna buddhya kurvanti ete dravya yajna. So Acharya here, Bhagavad Pada Shankaracharya says that what is dravya yajna? He says that literal meaning is sacrifice through wealth. And how do you perform that? Acharya Shankaracharya here says that dravya yajnaha tirteshu dravya viniyogam yajna buddhya kurvanti ete dravya yajnaha. So those sacrifices who spend dravya, that is the wealth, in tirteshu, tirtha kshetras, in the holy places, in the tirtha kshetras, under the idea of performing the sacrifice. So those who spend their wealth in the tirtha kshetras under the idea of performing the sacrifice, that is dravya yajna. So that's how Bhagavad explains the word dravya yajna. So again, similarly, others, they perform this dravya yajna. So in the Tirtha Kshetras, they go and spend wealth means, here again, when we go to Tirtha Kshetra, the spending starts in booking hotel, eating in booking our lodge, hotel booking, eating, and all those kind of things. It is not that sightseeing and all those things. Here, what Bhagavad is saying is Tirteshu Dravya Viniyogam means it is giving gift or dana and things like that, performing in those Tirtha Kshetras. Okay, so when one goes to Tirtha Kshetra, one has to give dana and all those kind of things. So that's what here, the earned money and wealth that one gives away at the Tirtha Kshetras, that is the tapa here, that is the sacrifice here mentioned. And Sri Madhusudan Saraswati again explains a similar thing, and he goes and says that Dravyatyaga eva yatha shastram yajno yesham te dravya yajnaha. So Sri Madhusudan Saraswati here says that whose sacrifice consists only in giving up of the ownership of the things in accordance with the Shastras. Yatha Shastram. So Dravyatyaga eva yatha Shastram. So according to the Shastras, again, going and, as I said, in Tirtha Kshetras, spending means not in the sightseeing and other things. It is as per the Shastras. So that is Dravya Yajna. So again, giving up the ownership of the thing. So whatever you own, giving up on that, that means giving that as a gift. That is what it is mentioned here. So, and he also explains that those giving up of that ownership and that charity, what one does in those Tirtha Kshetras, or anything one gives up, is normally done through as a Kamya Karma. And Kamya Karmas are normally three types: Ishta, Purta, and Datta. They are three types of Kamya Karmas. So that means the purpose, the types of karmas or Kamya Karmas are of three types: Ishta, Purta, Datta. Here, they are, here Madhusudan Saraswati says that Dravya Yajna refers to Purta Datta ke Rupa Smarta Karma Paraha. So he says that they are engaged in the works, the karmas called Purta and Datta, as said in the Smritis. So I said Kamya Karmas are of three types: Ishta, Purta, Datta. But Dravya Yajna corresponds to the last two, Purta and Datta only, not Ishta. Okay, so, and let's look at those two first, and then we'll come back to why Ishta is not included here. So what does Smriti say about these Purta and Datta? So, for example, Atri Samhita, Atri Smriti says that Vapi Kupa Tadagadi Devata Yatanani cha Anna Pradhana Maramaha Purtamitya Bhidiyate. So that means Vapi Kupa Tadaga Adi, so etc. So Vapi, Kupa, Tadaga, these are all watering options. So water giving options. So Vapi is a kind of pond. Kupa is again wells. Tadaga means tanks. So the difference between them is tank is a small one. Okay, where you have to, well is a small one where you have to, through a pulley, you have to take the water out from the well. Okay, tank is slightly bigger one where one can get inside. Okay, there will be steps, and you go inside and then take the water out. So that means you may be able to wash your feet and face and things like that once you are in that tank. And then the ponds or lakes and things like that, they are very big. That's not just for human consumption. That's animals, and everybody can get in there and drink the water and make use of that. So that means the Purta here includes these excavation of these type of things. Okay, water bodies, so ponds, wells, tanks, and so on, for the public use. And Devata Yatananicha, so construction of temples for Devatas. Okay, so again, the temple construction comes under Purta. This is a Kama karma as well, performed uh, for some desire. So when construction of the temples, the important thing again here is, again, construction of temple comes in many places in Puranas, mentions the construction of temple, any temple, Vishnu, Shiva, or Durga, or any, depending on which Purana you take out, it says that it gives all the merits, going to every Tirtha Kshetra or everything like that. So that's why temple construction or contributing to temple construction is always good. What is also important to note here is it is not one's responsibility, just does not disappear when we say I've given X amount of, or I've given X amount of cement or brick or stone or whatever it is to a temple construction. Okay. What is important here is what happens after that construction is complete. So that means the temple runs as it should be. So there is always pujas and things like that, the rituals performed as said in the Shastras. So it is also the responsibility of the donor who says that I'm going to support this temple construction. Okay, just like for an example, similar example is when one gives, for example, a godana, okay, cows, gifting of cows. Okay, so when a brahmana, when somebody gives a cow to brahmana, there are lot of things also. So normally these days, what happens is when somebody gives a cow, okay, simple form is, so I've seen places, for example, cow dana, the godana happens where brahmana himself brings a cow from his own house, saying that this cow is 5,000 pounds or 50,000 50,000 rupees or whatever it is. He says that, and then whoever want to give, he gives that 50,000 rupees, says that this cow is mine, and then he gives that cow back to that brahmana, saying, here is my dana. Okay, that's one way of doing. But normally, Godana means the person who gives the cow. Again, there are a lot of lakshanas or the characteristics, qualities of that cow should have. Okay, it should be milking, it should have a calf with it, it should be adorned with, its horn should be adorned with gold, and the giving procedures and all those kind of things are there. What the giver should do the day before and on the day and things like that. But the other responsibility is what happens after giving that thing, that I am giving this cow to you. When he transfers that, he also need to make sure that brahmana who is taking the cow has a cow shed for it. Okay, he is not going to tie it in a hot sun somewhere under it. So it is not like that. He should have that. So, and that cow is safely delivered to brahmana's home. Okay, so for example, I'm in this village and the brahmana lives in 3 villages after this. It is my responsibility. Brahmana coming to my house and I'm giving him the cow. I can't say my job is done. Okay, so my job is to make sure that that cow safely reaches brahmana's place, and at his place, it is my responsibility to make sure that cow has a shed, and that shed is protected from wild animals, fire, and things like that. It is protected. It is not carrying such a risk and things like that. Okay, so all those things comes with the godana. Similarly, a temple construction means just not giving some donation, because these days we see temple construction everywhere. Every street, if you go to India, every street, end of the street, there is a temple. God knows which devata is there. Okay, because devatas as well are manufactured in large numbers these days. So we will see all sort of temples coming up. And those temples are not maintained after what happened. So the Kumbhabhishek or Pranapratishtha and things like that, that happens. Grand ceremonies happen, temple opening. Okay. And then after that, there is no priest to perform puja. Then somebody, random guys who is not even brahmanas, they come and start doing all the pujas and things like that. That should not happen. So if things like that happen, that sin attaches to the person who actually helped the construction of the temple. So this is where it is very important, just like the cow's case. Okay, if I have given a cow as a godana, and it dies at the Brahmana's place because it did not have the water, or there was a fire risk and things like that, it dies. The killing that cow sin, the cow killing sin attaches to the giver of that cow. Just like that, here, if a temple is constructed and it is not seen through, it does not have the arrangements to make sure that there is proper structure, there is proper uh, things in place, that there is going to be rituals and everything that needed for the temple happens as per the Shastras. If that is not there, then that donation or whatever one says I have given is useless. Okay. So there is, this is very important, because every now and then we see temple constructions, but we don't see what happens after that. It has to happen after the construction, the temple construction, the Kumbhabhisheka or Pranapratishtha or whatever that's performed, the rituals has to happen as per the Shastras. That responsibility is on the person who contributed to that temple construction. That is very important. So here, Purta means the one who helps in construction of those temples. So that means construction and making sure that there is a functioning part, as functioning organization or whatever you want to call, that makes sure that those rituals takes place in the temple. Okay, so that's part of the Purta. So we looked at excavation of ponds, wells, tanks, and so on, construction of temples. These are Purtas. And then Anna Pradhanam Aramaha. So distribution of food, Annadana. Okay, so this is again Annadana. Normally these days we say people come to we invite people, they come, and then we serve them with food. We say that is Annadana. Okay, Annadana, when Dana means, when we are saying Dana, normally Annadana means somebody who comes asking for food. That is Annadana. Okay, what we do is Anna Santarpana, which is giving everybody food who comes there. I'm not saying that is wrong. Okay, we should not do that. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that one comes to home or we invite somebody, don't feed them. I'm not saying that. I'm saying Annadana is slightly even more different, because Annadana is where one comes asking for the food. Okay, so it is who are in need of the food, you give them. Okay, Dana is normally again giving to those who in need or who deserve it. So anyway, so distribution of the food comes under Purta, and then the last is Arama. So Arama is again building rest houses. These rest houses is again like, for example, in the roadside places where people can rest, where they have the facilities to take rest, or even in Tirtha Kshetras, where, for example, the visitors coming for them, they can stay and things like that. Okay, so these days we call guest houses and things like that. That's being constructed in some Tirtha Kshetras, but these are all for free. Okay, should be free here. So that's is Purta. So Vapi Kupa Tadagadi Devata Yatanani cha Annapradhanamaramha Purtamitya Vidiyate. So these are all, Atri Samhita says that these are all Purta. So Dravya Yajna, here, this is Purta. Purta is whatever done here. For example, these Vapi, Kupa, Tadaga, these ponds, wells, tanks, and construction of temple, distribution of food, rest house, construction of building of rest houses, all those things are Purta. They are all a type of Dravya Yajna. Okay, so if one does construct a well for drinking water for everybody, so again, all these things are simple things. Okay, so when we say drinking water, there is two parts here. So one is the one who constructs the well for everybody's public use. The other one is the who comes and drinks the water. Both have the responsibilities. Okay, so the one who constructs for his own Kamya Karma, for whatever reason, he constructs that. And then the one who drinks, if one goes and drinks in someone else's well without contributing to that well's maintenance, he gets a sin. Okay, There is a sin for that. So he goes to Naraka. Okay, so Yama explains this in very detail. So the Shastra says that when one goes to a well, he has to dig, he has to take out some of the mud from the base of the well so that there is always, the well is well maintained. Okay, obviously that doesn't mean that jump into the well and then start digging. Okay, so but you have to help towards that maintenance of that well. So when one drinks the water from a public place, you have to contribute towards the maintenance. So because somebody has given, let's say, water, a drum of water kept, they maintain there, you just go and drink every day. That doesn't, the person giving the water gets, again, you may not, these days we may not be able to dig well everywhere, but we can always keep water outside, right? So that's something one could do. But again, taking that water, the person who takes water also has his own responsibility. Okay, I'm just saying. Anyway, so that's not part of the purta. The responsibility is the person who drinks is not part of the purta. The giving the water is part of purta, which is dravya yajna. Then the second kama karma part of this dravya yajna is called datta. So datta means, again, Atri Smriti says that sharanagata santranam bhutanam chapya himsanam bahirvedi cha yaddanam dattamityabhidhiyate. So protection of those who take refuge, sharanagata santranam, not injuring the living beings, so bhutanam chapya himsanam, and then the charity that is made outside the sacrificial ground is called datta. So these are all the, again, protection of anyone who takes refuge is one of the greatest merits one could accumulate. And if one cannot give protection, and if one takes refuge and then you do not give that protection, that's one of the sins, and there are yamas, special narakas for that as well. And then ahimsa, we will come to that later as well. We'll come to that a little bit later and go into details in another shloka, next shlokas. And then charity, again, made outside the sacrificial ground, means is when one is performing a vrata, homa, or whatever it is, one gives dana outside that. If one just gives voluntarily to brahmana or brahmana, that kind of dana is known as datta. So this dravya yajna covers these two things, purta and datta. Purta is, again, vapi upatadagadi devata yathanica anna pradhanamada harama. And datta is sharanagata santanam bhutanam chapyahimsanam bahirvedicha yaddanam. So dana outside that sacrificial ground. So those are things. So I said kama karmas are three types: ishta, purta, datta. So two things are covered here, purta and datta. Now what happens to ishta? So ishta means, why ishta is not included is because it is already covered in the other shloka, other type of yajnas that Bhagavan has mentioned here. So first we look at ishta. What is ishta is? Ishta means agnihotram tapas satyam vedanancha anupalanam atityam vaishvadevascha ishtam iti abhidhiyate. So that means performing of agnihotra sacrifice, the austerities, tapha, and then observing of truthfulness, satyam, vedanam cha anupalanam, so following the injunctions of Vedic injunctions, and then atityam, entertaining guests, and then vaishvadevascha ishtamidi abhidhiyate. So that means Vaishvadeva is performing Vaishvadeva sacrifices every day. These are all said as ishta. So that is comes from the Taittiriya Samhita. So that's what ishta means. So now, because why ishta is not included here is because the Vedic work, this is already mentioned in the 25th shloka. In the 25th shloka, Bhagavan says that Daiva meva apare yajnam yoginah paryupasate. So other yogis undertake the sacrifice of devatas alone. So there is what Bhagavan has said, and this Ishta is covered in that. Okay, so Kama karmas are three types: Ishta, Purta, Datta. Ishta is covered in that 25th shloka itself. Daivameva pare yajnam yogina pare. So when we perform all these devata aradhanas, okay, Agnihotra, vratas, uh, keeping truthfulness, and then following the Śāstra, Vedic injunctions, and then Atiti Satkara, and then Vaishvadeva, all those things are covered in Daivameva with devatas in the view when performing the yajnas. So that's already covered there. Purta Datta are covered here as part of a Dravya Yajna. So we looked at one yajna mentioned in this shloka. So Dravya Yajna, next Tapo Yajna. So next one is Tapo Yajna. So Tapo Yajna is the performance of sacrifices through austerities. So Bhagavad Shankaracharya says that tapo yajnaha tapa yajnaha yesham tapasvinam te tapo yajna. So men of austerity, to whom austerity itself is a sacrifice. So for them, that tapa itself is a sacrifice. So those men of austerities are those whose sacrifice consists only in such austerities such as Kricha, Chandrayana, and things like that. Those austerities they perform. Okay, Kricha is like a bodily modification, eating on certain food or not eating for certain days and things like that. Chandrayana is increasing or decreasing of how many morsels of food one takes according to the phase of moon, Krishna Paksha, Chandra, and Shukla Paksha, or Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha, depending on which way we want to perform Chandrayana. So again, there are various types of austerities Smritis mention. Okay, Smritis and Puranas mention. So, for example, there is one called Paraka. So Paraka means it's a vow involving fasting for 12 days. If one does that, that's known as Paraka. And then there is Chandrayana, which I just mentioned. So Chandrayana refers to a type of, again, penance, and Chandrayana, Kricha and Chandrayana, these two are mentioned for all many types of expiations as well. So if one has committed a sin and want to repent, and after repentance one want to do expiation, then Chandrayana, Kricha are mentioned for various types of sins. Okay, so any type of sin one want to do expiation, normally Kricha, Chandrayana, austerities are mentioned. So Chandrayana here means it is a prayaschitta that's performed here. For example, Manu says that if a person diminishes his food daily by one mouthful during the Krishna Paksha of the month and increases similarly during the Shukla Paksha, and but he takes bath daily at the time, 3 times of Arghya times, he does that, takes bath, then it is known as Chandrayana Vrata. So that's what Manu said. So the importance again here is, for example, Chandrayana, how it is performed is, it started either on Purnami or started on Amavasya. Let's say we started on Purnami. Okay, that means full moon day. You have 15 morsels, 15 morsels of food. Okay, morsels of food you can take on that day. Next day, Chaturdashi, Padami. Okay, because the moon is now going down. Okay, from you started on Purnami day, moon reduces. So next you are heading towards Amavasya. So every day you reduce the food. On the Padami day, you take 114. And then Trayodasi day, you take, second day, Ditiya day, you take 13. Like that you reduce. And Amavasya day, you take 0. No food at all. And then gradually start increasing. On the Shukla Paksha, he started gradually increasing. So again, Padami day 1, Dvitiya day 2, Tritiya day, Krishna Paksha Tritiya day, the 3 more morsels and things like that increase. And then on the Purnami day, take 15 morsels. That's 1 month full of Vrata. That is known as Chandrayana. So again, this is started either on Amavasya to Amavasya or Purnami to Purnami. One can do that. So that's the Chandrayana. And there are slightly variations to this Chandrayana as well. So a Brahmana with mental concentration and purity eats 4 lumps of rice in the morning and 4 lumps of at sunset is known as Shishu Chandrayana. So there is no decrease or increase here. Only 4 lumps in the morning and 4 lumps in the evening is known as Shishu Chandrayana. And then the one with controlled self eats 8 balls of sacrificial food at midday regularly is known as Yati Chandrayana. So these are the variations to Chandrayana. Then there is another one known as Prayopavesha. So this is sitting down and abstaining from food till one reaches the death. So this is fasting oneself to death. So that is known as Prayopavesha, another type of austerity. Then we look at Kracha. Kracha, there are various type of Kracha austerities. Kricha, Atikricha, these are all refers to penances for prayaschitta of the sins, patakas. So Manusmriti, for example, says that a person who performs Kricha penance should eat during 3 days in the morning only, and during the following 3 days food given unasked for, and then shall fast the following another 3 days. So total 9 days for the Kricha. So the first 3 days he eats in the morning only. Next 3 days he eats food that comes unasked for. So if somebody gives him the food, that doesn't mean that he tells the first previous 3 days itself, next 3 days bring me the food. Okay, he can't ask that. Okay, if he gets the food unasked by somebody, those second set of 3 days, he can eat, and the last 3 days he should fast. That is Kricha. And then the who performs Atikricha should take a food during the 3-day period, 3 periods of 3 days, 1 mouthful at each meal and fast during the last 3 days. So to 9 days, he eats 1 mouthful only, and then he fasts for 3 days. That is known as Atikricha. And then there is Padakricha, where he takes only a single meal at night of what is obtained without asking anybody, and then or he fasts a single day, that is known as Padakricha. And then there is known as Parnakricha. So like this, there are various similar Kricha penances or austerities that's there. So Parnakricha is like in which the water wherein the leaves of banyan, audumbra, lotus, bilva, they all boiled separately on each day in succession, and they are drunk with kusha grass dipped in that. The person drinks on that only. So he drinks on those things, banyan leaves, audumbra, lotus, bilva, and things like that. They boil in that, and then he drinks that. One day he drinks banyan, another one audumbra, and then things like that he drinks. That's Parnakricha. And then next one is Saumyakricha, where he separately eats these things: oil cake, ghee, buttermilk, wheat flour, and then water, and then he observes a fast. So like this, he observes the Saumyakricha. So these things are done. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. So first day oil cake, second day ghee, third day buttermilk, wheat flour, water, and then the last day fast is observed. So that's what Yajnavalkya says. Or it is consisting of 5 days subsisting on sesame, and then water boiled rice, and then buttermilk mixed with water, water with parched grain, and fasting on the sixth day and things like that. This Saumya Kricha is performed, and it is again Saumya here is related to the moon. And then there is another one, I think I mentioned the Atikricha as well, so where one eats the havis in the morning for 3 days, and then he eats 3 days what is obtained without any asking anything, and then 3 days he observes fast. So, and then 3 days he fasts. So, like that, the Atikricha is done. And then there is Kricha, where one consists taking only milk for 21 days. So, that is Kricha. And then Antya Prajapatya. That vrata says that one who takes food in the morning for 3 days, then in the evening for 3 days, then takes food not begged or asked for 3 days and observes the fast for 3 days. So that is Antya Prajapatya. And then there is Santava Kricha, where cow urine, cow dung, milk, curd, ghee, kusha grass water, all these are mixed together and they are consumed and then fast observed for a night. So that is known as Santapana Kricha. And then Mahasantapana is similar to Santapana, but it is for the 6 days and fast observed on the 7th day. And then there is Tapta Kricha, where again the performer drinks for 3 days the hot water, hot milk, ghee, and then he lives on the air alone. And then for 3 days he drinks hot water, then he drinks hot milk, and 3 days he hot milk for 3 days, and then for hot ghee for 3 days, and then he takes air only for 3 days. So that's like Tapta Kricha. And then there is Ekanni Kricha, where devotee takes barley mixed with cow urine. He takes that, and then there is Shita Kricha, where he takes cold water for 3 days, cold milk for 3 days, and then cold ghee for 3 days, and then fasts for 3 days. And then Toya Kricha, where he drinks nothing but water for a fixed period, and then Mula Kricha, where he lives upon the roots, and then there is a Sri Kricha, where he living for 3 days on nothing but cow urine, cow dung, or the grains of barley found in the cow dung. So those things, he lives on those things, that is Sri Kricha. And then Patra Kricha, where he drinks the infusion of leaves of various plants. And then Go Kricha, where he, in which barley cooked in cow urine is eaten. Like this, various Kricha, Chandrayana vratas are there. And those are things one performs, and those austerities one performs, and that is the performers of that that sacrifice, that austerity itself is the yajna, and that is known as tapo yajna. So that's what here. So we looked at tapo yajna is the men of austerities, or those whose sacrifice consists only in such austerities. So they perform that. Next, so we looked at Dravya Yajna, Tapo Yajna. Next one is Yoga Yajna, the performers of the sacrifice through yoga. So Yoga Yajna, Pranayama Pratyaharadi Lakshano Yogo Yajno Yesham Te Yoga Yajna. So that's how Sri Shankaracharya explains, is that those whom the yoga consists of control of this prana, and withdrawal of the organs, that's the pranayama performed and so on, that itself is the sacrifice. And this requires a little bit more time because we need to look into a little bit more detail on this Ashtanga yogas. We already looked at some of them already. So Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi we looked at previously. Prana, Pratyahara also we looked at previously. But we need to look at Yama Niyama Asana, Pranayama. We need to look at that. So we'll look at that next time.